Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to connect three data stories that seem totally unrelated, but trust me, they reveal the hidden forces shaping everything from your paycheck to global power struggles.
So yeah, I know it sounds like a weird question, right? Wages, megacities, and a race for minerals. But the answer actually tells this powerful and, frankly, pretty surprising story about the world we live in right now. We're about to see how these three trends are really just one big, interconnected story.
All right, let's just dive right in. And we're going to start at the level that affects all of us the most, the money that people actually earn. So first up, we're starting with a really surprising look at the American workforce. You know, on the surface, the labor market looks strong, but underneath, millions and millions of people are earning a lot less than you'd probably think.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 42.9 million. According to the Economic Policy Institute, that's how many workers in the U.S. make less than $20 an hour. So who are these almost 43 million people?
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, when you see how these low-wage jobs are spread out. It gives us a super clear picture of how education plays a role, for sure, but it also shows that's not the whole story. Let's break this down.
So if we start with workers who don't have a high school diploma, you can see they're the most affected. A full 2/3 of this group, that's almost 7 million people, are in this low-wage bracket. That's a huge hurdle right from the get-go.
Now, for folks with a high school diploma, yeah, the percentage drops to 43%. But, and this is the really important part, look at the sheer number of people. This is the biggest single group of low-wage workers. We're talking almost 16 million people. This is pretty much the foundation of this low-wage economy.
And this trend? It just keeps going, even for people who went to college but maybe didn't finish their degree. More than a third of them are still stuck in that low-wage bracket. That's another 13 million people who put in the time and money for higher ed, but still can't quite break that $20 an hour barrier.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that even getting a college degree isn't a silver bullet. About 12% of workers who have a college degree, or even more, that's over 7 million people, are still earning less than $20 an hour. And that kind of economic pressure, well, it's a really powerful motivator.
So you have all this economic pressure. Where does it lead? What do people do? Well, it's a huge driver behind a much, much bigger story, this historic, massive migration to giant urban centers.
We are seeing a shift toward these megacities like never before in human history, and there is no better example than Guangzhou in China. Just look at this timeline. In only 50 years, this city went from just over 2 million people to an incredible 43 million.
And to really get a sense of just how massive this change is, check this out. You take an established megacity like Tokyo, which grew by a pretty solid 38% in that same time, but Guangzhou, its population exploded by almost 2,000%. This isn't just growth, it's a complete transformation.
Just let that number wash over you for a second. By this year, 2025, the population of Guangzhou's urban area has ballooned to 43 million people.
To give you an idea of what that actually means, it's like taking the entire population of Canada, or Argentina, or even Poland, and fitting them all into a single, sprawling city. The scale of this is something we've just never seen before.
Okay, so now we're going to pull the camera back one last time. We're zooming out to the big geopolitical stage to see what's actually powering this new, high-tech urban world that all these millions of people are rushing into.
You know the technology that makes these megacities tick? The phones in our pockets, the electric cars, the whole digital economy. It all runs on a handful of key resources. They're called critical minerals. And as you're about to see, the supply chain for these things is, well, it's incredibly concentrated.
So let's look at the projections for 2030. Take lithium. You need it for just about every modern battery out there. China is on track to control over 60% of all the world's refining capacity.
And for cobalt, wow, the story gets even more dramatic. It's another key ingredient for EV batteries and electronics. China's projected share of the refining market is over 71%.
And guess what? It's the exact same picture for natural graphite, which is crucial for batteries. Again, China's projected to control over 70% of that market. You're definitely seeing a pattern here.
But wait, there is one huge exception to this rule: nickel. In this case, Indonesia is set to become the dominant player. By using its own massive reserves and banning raw exports, it's on track to control over 71% of the refined nickel market, leaving China with a much smaller piece of the pie.
Now, it's important to remember, this kind of crazy concentration isn't the case for everything. If you look at a more traditional metal, like copper, the market for refining it is way more spread out and diversified. The rest of the world holds a really significant share right alongside China.
Okay, so we've looked at wages, we've looked at these massive cities, and we've looked at the minerals that power them. How on earth do these three things actually connect to tell one single story about our future?
It's really like a global chain reaction, right? You start with the economic pressure on millions of workers, which leads to this desperate search for better opportunities. That search then fuels the mind-blowing growth of these economic hubs, these megacities. And finally, these giant high-tech cities run on a global tech economy that is completely dependent on a really fragile and super concentrated supply chain for these critical minerals.
So what we have is this new global system that's created incredible efficiency and opportunity, for sure, but it's also created profound risk and dependency. It connects the paycheck of a worker in one country directly to the mines and refineries in another. And all of this leaves us with one final and really crucial question as we try to figure out what comes next.